So when you were a small child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think I was pretty aspirational as a child. Like, I'm sure that I was very like precocious and like quite like annoying and loud. And I'm sure that there was something that I said that I wanted to do every few days, but there was nothing where I felt like I really had like a burning desire to do it or be it until maybe a bit later in life. Like I really wanted to dance, and that was something that I knew that I really, really wanted to do. And I think when I was super young, I like was interested in being a visual artist. Yeah, but I think because that just seemed like the most appealing of professions when I was young as well. But yeah, so maybe I've kind of fulfilled, yeah, maybe those are my things.
Have you had any particular performances that stood out because they were a lot of fun, or they were particularly weird gigs or anything like that?
Yeah, totally.
What's one of the weirdest gigs that you've had?
I've had some interesting sort of gigs. Like I did a walking act at a medical tech convention, or like expo. So like all the stands were like kind of talking about tech in medicine, hospital tech, and I was wandering around dressed as this like commedia dell'arte clown and just like hooping, and it was super nice because like people were really interested in watching it, and like I think it was like a nice break for them between like talking about, I don't know, some dialysis machines, but yeah.
That is a weird vibe. That's not your usual gig, definitely.
But I enjoyed performing in front of the dialysis machines. They were state of the art, German, so I'm sure that they were beautiful. It was like, what is more beautiful, me or the dialysis machine?
They're just in the middle of talking like tech, and you just going past them with a hoop.
Like, hey, hey. I think like quite often the machines won, but yeah. And I had one gig where for some reason the stage was really small, and they put cabaret seating, like the tables right up to the edge of the stage, and I hit go on the face with my hoop. And it was just a catastrophe. There was so many drops. The whole act was just like so many drops, and then this one where, I mean, kind of like, I think it hit her and then it landed around her neck, and she was like at my feet because the stages, like the stage and the table like distance was like this much, or like the table was at the edge of the stage, so she could just be like thanks, oh god. Yeah, so that was really
Do you have any tips for anyone who's like just starting out hooping as a performer, for like things that have like helped you with your performance aspects, whether it's dealing with the tiniest stage in the world or like constructing an act?
I definitely think if you're a nervous performer, or if you're like worried about performing, maybe the best thing you can do for yourself is just to practice a lot, so that you feel really secure about what you do. I used to build acts that were like just beyond my skill level, like my actual skill level at the time, and I would like build in things that were like tricks that I maybe only could do like 40% of the time, and then like I would just train them like to death, and then like until I like got them to be at a level where I was fairly okay with. But lately especially for a lot of my later performances, I've been sort of more kind to myself and have left like tricks that I can't do yet, like to just incubate and be in the training space, like so that I can be more relaxed on stage. But I also feel like the boot camp style of like really pushing yourself can also really up your technique and your ability. But yeah, the cleverest thing to do would be to start with what you know and what you can do really well. And I think that's everybody has that. Everybody has the things that they can do well. And when I'm building a performance, like I usually often have a big list of tricks that I write down, and that I want to show people, that I'm excited about, or that I love, that I think are elegant or beautiful, or that I think would really fit with the act. And I sort of map out my act somewhat before I really even like stand up and begin to move. So that can be really helpful. I did a great workshop with Henna from Finland. She's an amazing hooper, and she did an act where we did a activity in a workshop where we just imagined movement. Like we sat and listened to music and just like imagined what things could be or could look like. And I do that all the time anyway when I listen to music, and it was just so nice to have somebody be like, you can use this as a technique to create movement, to create tricks, to create ideas, or to build your act. Like
I did that workshop with her once as well. I love Henna as a teacher, and yeah, there was an interesting bit where she was like, okay, now write that down and give it to another hooper, and they have to try and interpret it. And it was an interesting mix of people doing like illustrations of things, and like some of it would be like words and then a picture, and then kind of passing it around people and trying to be like, okay, what is it that they were thinking to this music? And yeah, it really makes you appreciate how differently other people's brains work when they're, you know, listening to music and when they're thinking about hooping.
Totally. Everyone has such a different idea and different perspective. I'm really fascinated by more like creative based or like flow workshops when I get to see what people come up with, because yeah, it's always so different. Like the combinations or ideas or movements or like concepts that you wouldn't come out of my brain, which is like, yeah, which is where we kind of all develop and grow from as well, because we feed into each other's creative sides as well. And like it's amazing to see how much content of movement has just developed in the last years as well.
How's your hooping and that sort of thing been since, obviously we're in 2020? It's been a very weird year for all of us. Some of us live in cities where we don't have very much space where we live. Have you been hooping a lot in lockdown? Have you been like exploring different things? Like what's your 2020 been like hoop wise?
So we arrived back from Vietnam middle of March and moved back into our apartment in April. At the beginning of April, I was like pretty motivated and was like trying to learn a whole bunch of new tricks and yeah, and to do sort of stuff that I have been trying to force myself to do for ages, more like circus based stuff. I always get distracted, so I'm not great at drilling things.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do a whole bunch of drills, and then I kind of fell off the bandwagon, and I kind of just did nothing for a really long time. Like I didn't pick up a hoop. I didn't force myself to pick up a hoop. And I just had like probably for most of this year, I've had a big break from hooping, and it's been really good. Like I've come back lately in the last like month or two to like really wanting to get back into hooping. Like obviously I'm lucky that there's training spaces that are open where I can train, and it's been nice weather, so I can also play outside. But it's been good to have a break, actually, like a forced break for a lot of things, and we're super nice just to take the time to see my friends and like yeah, and work and hang out with my husband, and like in April we renovated our apartment like quite a lot, did a lot of painting. So yeah, it's super nice to have a little bit of a break.
And in terms of future episodes of the Hoop Circle, are there any hoopers who you would love to hear their hoop story, their hoop journey, who maybe either you know that they're someone really interesting, or you don't know what their journey's been and you'd like to hear from them?
Maybe Vivian Spiral.
Oh yeah, old school, one of the originators.
Yeah, and she's an incredible artist. She's an incredible being, and she's yeah, an incredible performer. So I think she would be a super interesting person to interview and to hear more from. yeah, I mean, she's not just a hooper. She does so many different things.
Mm. Yeah, no, that would be a great one. And I don't know her super well as well, so it would be interesting to hear like how she got into hooping, and also as say she does like contact ball, she does loads of flow stuff with the whole body, which would be super interesting to find out about.
And Levi wand, aerial,
Mm.
so yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And is there anything in the next couple of years that we should look out for that you're going to be doing with the hoop? Should people be checking out on like Instagram or teaching tours? Is there things that you kind of would like to be doing?
I want to finally make some tutorials. I've been meaning to make tutorials for a long time. I'm just not very good at technology, and I'm not very consistent. So it's hard to follow through on things, especially when they're just coming off my own back. Like when I've committed to something that somebody's organized, or when I'm very like good at like showing up and like doing an ace job, but when it comes to like getting something off the ground for myself, um or yeah, just off my own back, it's kind of hard. So yeah, I want to do a whole bunch of tutorials. That's one thing that yeah, has been on my mind for so long, and hopefully it's going to happen.
No,
Because yeah,
we look forward to seeing those because you're a great teacher, and like it would be great if more people who are around the world and people, you know, places that haven't seen you in person before get to experience some of that. Definitely. Oh, it's been so lovely to have you on the show, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will all keep an eye out for your upcoming tutorials and hopefully seeing you when we're allowed to travel out of the countries we live in again to see you somewhere local. So thank you so much, Chris.
thanks for having me. It's been so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again too. Take care.